Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Axiom Verge. Let's continue. So we got a new weapon, the slicer, which seems like it does a pretty decent amount of damage. But we're halfway through this tower area and I'm just gonna, in this area I'm gonna shoot off a bomb because I know that there's this thing here that looked dangerous and may actually be dangerous or may not be actually dangerous now that I've corrupted it. Seems like it is, at least that one is not corrupted, so they're shooting all kinds of different laser colors at me, and Slicer's probably the worst thing to use on this right now, but it does a lot of damage. There. So I just lost a pretty significant amount of health from that. Let's see, doesn't seem like there's anything there. Doesn't seem like there's anything here. We could be closer to Athetos than it seems. Let's see. I don't know if I fully corrupted that one. Alright. What did we just collect? Letter. Druska's suspicions were correct. Rebirth log shows that a man named Athetos came here once before, hundreds, possibly thousands of years ago. Okay, we'd already been told that. Seems like we're getting letters and logs that very definitely we would have already known that. The only argument you might be able to make is that we weren't going to believe Elsnova and what she said. Which, I mean, fair enough. I hope this is a saved spot. And it is. And yes, we can get back up here. Alright. So, yeah, we might be closer to the end. Or this might be like a lot of the previous boss fights where there are a couple of places where you have to be very careful not to take damage before you fight the guy. Now, I guess this might be the end of the game. We're working our way to this area. This looks different. So, it's you. Yes, I've been wondering when you'd come. It's been a long time since I've seen another human. What is this contraption you're in? Are you okay? It protects me from the pathogen. I previously used a much more portable device, but the Rusalki destroyed it. This ungainly machine merely prolongs my demise. Is it true that you released the pathogen on the whole world intentionally? Yes. Then you'd better do some explaining. If I tell you too much, your captors will have to kill you. But try this. Long ago, this world, Sudra, was a doorway to an unrivaled civilization. Like a port on the way to the greatest nation ever envisioned. But the port had a collapse. By the time I came, they barely remembered who they were. They regarded their own technology with superstition and religious reverence. When I first crossed the breach from Earth to Sudra, I was expecting to find enlightenment. Instead, I discovered that they were using the breach to keep out the greater universe. In their superstitious culture, the outside universe is taboo. For this, I do not regret removing the main obstacle in my path. You'd resort to genocide just for that? Imagine millennia of scientific, cultural, and technological progress, a civilization so advanced that our world is pathologic by comparison. That is what lies beyond the breach. Death, disease, war, famine, these could become things of the past. But the Sudrans were obstinate. This was the forbidden fruit. The loss of a single people balanced against the whole of humanity. How else could I choose? Well, you did it. You have the breach attractor now. Why not just shut it down? The Rysalki were the flaw of my plan. I want to say, as much as I appreciate original names, they really should have just called them the machines. It would have been so much easier to read instead of making up fake names. The Rysalki were a flaw in my plan. They are the masters of war. If I disable the breach attractor, I free them too. But Trace, with you at my side, we have a chance. Will you help me? Let me think about that for a bit. Okay, I've thought about it, and my answer is... Oh no, you self-righteous jerk. So be it then. Okay. So, let's go ahead and throw a bomb. And shoot these guys. And take the health. And then throw another bomb. And shoot these guys. I'm barely taking any damage here. So either this is going to be a really easy fight, or I'm not even hitting the right thing. And I guess I'm not hitting the right thing, because I've just realized that the blue thing in the middle there is probably what I'm supposed to be breaking. Alright. So now Else Nova has been freed, and that has worked into my advantage. And this music is really cool and I like it, but my fear is the music will inevitably cut out 5 minutes before I actually finish the game. What we can see here is Else Nova is seemingly trying to kill me too. So much about no killing. She's trying to destroy what looks like an elevator, and I assume that means it will end in a crash. Alright. But really, this is super easy because they're not really doing that much damage to me. Well, these ones seem like they are doing a little bit more damage to me, so I should probably be a little bit more careful. And, well, was that it? So it appears I have lost. Else Nova, we did it. The breach is gone. I'm sorry, but there's one more thing I need to do. No, duh. You're going to kill him, aren't you? You can't do anything now. Just leave. He can't do anything now. Just leave him. Unfortunately, that's not a chance we can take. This was an inevitable, Trace. Don't blame yourself. Athetos. Or Athetos. So that's it. I'll never know if... I mean, what if he could have been redeemed? Trace, you're not him. He chose wrongly, not you. But now's the time for you to go home. Go home as a clone of a mass murderer? What even's there for me? Do not worry, we have taken care of it. What's happening? I'm suddenly exhausted. Rest now. Perhaps we'll meet again sometime. Wait, please. So they're erasing his memory. As for what happened next, I wake out of a coma. This whole thing was a dream. I was back. But this was different. It was as if nothing ever happened. The laser lab had still collapsed, but I was uninjured. Nobody else seemed to think that was strange. I didn't stick around much longer. This is a weird story, frankly. I tried to go back to my former life, but it felt wrong. I don't know who I was anymore, or where I belonged. This is a weird story to go with. I had to get back to Sudra to find the truth of things. I started with what I'd learned there, which I really didn't learn too much. I was determined to get to the bottom of it. That was all I had left. And see, this is probably how you just turn into Athetos, and it becomes this time travel loop. So developed solely by Tom Happ. Oh, well then why didn't the credits on the screen say Justin Bailey? In memory of Max Happ, my best friend. I assume also a relative. And there was a business marketed and bookkeeping. So not a 100% solely run game, certainly. But it is certainly interesting to see somebody develop a game and not have at least an artist in there. I might even argue that Tom Happ is better as a pixel artist and as a art director, because he did have some interesting art that he went for here. Sure, it is stealing from H.R. Giger somewhat, and a lot of the tile sets frankly were repetitive. Apparently he used Anime Studio in part to make this game. He's using quite a few random softwares there to do things that he probably could have done in more industry standard softwares. But we're left in this weird position where I assume we're getting some kind of new game plus, and I would kind of want to see a code or two to reveal what was written on the journals that we had. If there is a new game plus, but then there's not really any help, it would be a weird experience, certainly, to try to jump back into the game after this point and say, all right, I'm just gonna run around the map yet again. This suffers, I think, a lot in comparison to Metroid, though, in the grand spectrum of it, because this game is really, really long when it doesn't have those guiding lights of just saying, hey, you're supposed to go here. This is your main goal. You're supposed to go here and collect this item. That's your main goal. You've been to this area and you've collected this thing from this area, so you can use a walkthrough to figure out the things you haven't found. We'll get back to the title screen at some point and we'll see, or they'll just tell me right now. Difficulty normal. Maybe I had to play it on hard. Well, it wasn't 85 hours, 19 minutes, and 58 seconds. I've left the game running, so that's probably the total time almost where we've seen it's been left running. We found 71% of the items and 89% of the maps. Okay. We died 35 times. That's not terrible. Alright. So, the thing I wanted to do a long time ago was change this. Let's change this back to ring select. And then there's kind of nothing else you can change as far as anything, because the options are so simplistic. The audio is good but sparsely used, and there's a lot of guns that don't seem to have sound effects that play. So if we hit start here, where is this going to take us? Let's see. Will this take us back to the main game? Where we last saved. Yeah. So, yeah. There's no new codes. Nothing shown there. There's things we couldn't find in this map. And then there's probably things in this map I didn't find. Probably things I didn't find in this map. And this map. And this map. This map, I think that yellow indicator does mean I found everything in it. Certainly things I didn't collect in this areas. What's weird about this, and yeah, nothing in that area either. What's weird is that we beat the game with 2 upgrades missing. We're definitely missing at least one. Otherwise, why not just have this down here and expand the spacing? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 up here and 8 up here. But it would have been just as easy to have 7. And yeah, there's at least 1 core fragment upgrade and at least 2 health fragment upgrades. And tons of letters and such. Yeah, and I just have no clue. You really would have to use a walkthrough to get through all of this, quite frankly. And let's just take a quick look at the speedrun. Difficulty experts only. This is a special mode for competitive streamers now completed, who completed the game in a single sitting. It eliminates dialogue, cutscenes, and randomized content. Oh, there was randomized content in here. Let's see. Checkpoint HUD. Let's see what the leaderboards say. Somebody did it in 33 minutes. Global. Any percent. But honestly, I think this would be just the same game. It's just there is oddly no new game plus here, so you're just playing the entire game without the dialogue. And let's see, inventory, notes. We don't have the decoder, so we can't even put in a code at this point if we wanted to, which means you kind of are never going to get that dialogue. I think it would be kind of interesting to watch a speedrun for this game, but it would just be a faster experience versus what we've done before. I was thinking the speedrun would be more of a boss rush mode. And it seems like the game is just saved. But it doesn't matter. Look at this. The time is just going up regardless, even if you do go to the menu. It really feels like it needs a new game plus mode, but it doesn't have that. And it does say Thomas Happ Games at the bottom, so where did I see Justin Bailey in the copyright? Weird. Maybe I just dreamed that up. Well, that's it for this series. This has certainly been a very long coverage. And we're in this weird position where I think this game is probably worth playing. It's pretty good, and as a indie game as a Metroidvania game, it's alright. But there's a lot of stretching of time in the middle. And when you compare this, I think, to a more modern game just by a couple of years like Dead Cells, I think there would be a lot more passion to play the game Dead Cells than Axiom Verge, because Dead Cells looks a lot better. It's not going for the 8-bit graphics. I think in general games with 8-bit graphics are using that as a crutch, and that's not helpful or a good selling point. I've really not seen any game ever on PC with 8-bit graphics that is new that I wanted to play because of that point. But then, so you have Dead Cells, you probably would want to play that more. I would say if you want to play a Metroidvania game, playing Axiom Verge is a lot smarter than playing any of the Castlevania Lord of Shadows games, which are 3D and really not Metroidvania at all. But unfortunately, probably by the time this airs, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is probably going to be out, and that's going to have modern graphics and be a much truer Castlevania style game, where this is more of a Metroid style game. And on top of that, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon is already out, and that's an 8-bit graphics Castlevania style game. So this one gets pushed down to 4th position just off the top of my head. That being said, if you're a super fan of Metroidvania games and you've played things like Rogue Legacy, which I would say play Rogue Legacy before Axiom Verge, and you've played a lot of other Metroidvania style games that might be on Steam and I'm just not aware. People should probably tell me in the comments if there are more of these. This one is kind of in the middle tier, bottom tier, approaching bottom tier as far as quality, just because of how much it doesn't respect your time, and the story is certainly not worth sticking around for what little there is. There's a lot of quality of life improvements that could have been made. I would also say for the H.R. Giger style art style, I kind of wish there was a game that would embrace that more. I think there probably is a few mature rated games on Steam that embrace something like that. Things that I could probably never play on YouTube, like Agony, or there's another one that came out about a year ago where it was Old Gods and an Eyes Wide Shut style party, if you know what that means. And that's why I can't ever play it on YouTube. I feel like I'm stretching the ending here in the same way this game stretched. But yeah, I think we can wrap up here. It's alright. It's not terrible. This game probably has taught me a lesson about being overly nostalgic. If I was to try to play Metroid 1 right now, I probably would be super frustrated and not get to the end of the game. I also wouldn't be surprised if I looked up how long it took to actually beat Metroid 1 for an average player, that it was closer to 4 hours than the 9 hours that allegedly an average player would take to beat this game. Anyways, that's it for this series. If you want to see any of the other series I've covered, go to my main YouTube channel and click on the playlist tab. I have a playlist for every game I've covered. If you want to friend or follow me on any kind of social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, which would be greatly appreciated, there's a link to Patreon, or you could just friend me on Steam and gift me either a gift card or a game off my wish list. I maintain that wish list specifically so people can suggest games for me to cover. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.